It's called First Time. You ready for it?
Oh boy, yeah. Then it turned out that Quezon is also a province that doesn't show up on the map. I can read and write hiragana and katakana.
Good evening, Mumrik. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing good as well. Thank you for making the time today. You're my next guest on this series of interviews with well-known or pro players of GeoGuessr. My question is always the same at the beginning. Who are you? But before that, why Mumrik?
Well, the full username, I guess, is from Twitch. It's John Mumrik. And, well, when I was very young, I found the idea of like stupid double names in Swedish is quite common to have double names. So I just made up a bunch of weird double names and named my WoW characters after that. And then John Mumrik was the one that stuck. And it's John, just a normal Germanic name, and Mumrik is from the character Snufkin in Moomin. It's a Finnish story about some trolls. It's quite famous in like Sweden, Finland, and like I guess Nordics like that. And there's even also a cartoon.
I'll have to look it up because I'm not familiar. So it's John the Troll, basically?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it's one of the characters. In English, he's called Snufkin, but in Swedish, he's called Snus Mumriken.
Thank you for sharing a bit of culture. You've already betrayed a little bit of where you're from, right?
Yeah.
If I'm not incorrect.
Yes, I am from Sweden.
Tell us a bit more about who you are. What's your background? Who are you, like in general?
So I'm 30 years old. I'm from Stockholm, Sweden, and I am a general IT guy. I guess I could describe myself as both in hobbies and in my work, as I'm working on a IT company, and in my spare time I love playing games. Though, like with the years, I've gone more from like normal games over to GeoGuessr. So nowadays it's a lot of GeoGuessr and less other games.
What makes GeoGuessr not a normal game?
I mean, I guess it depends on how you see it. But I guess like a web-based game, and it's a very knowledge-based game, I would say.
I agree. I find it very educational. I'm just teasing you because you said you played normal games before and not anymore.
Yeah.
I do agree with you. Don't worry. Before we started the recording, I found it interesting what you shared with me. If you're willing to share again what you're doing for work in terms of IT and who your customers are.
I'm working with a company that develops print-based systems for newspapers. And we do integrations towards other companies' web systems. And for example, Washington Post's writer ARC, which is and from those we get a lot of customers automatically from them since they are referring us.
When you say a print-based system, does it mean you're building the infrastructure so you can go both on web and the actual printing paper?
We used to do both web and print, but we have sort of given up on web as it's not as lucrative, and it requires a lot more like splitting resources. As we're quite a small company, it's much better to focus on only the print now, since there are so many web systems, but a good print system isn't as readily available, especially one with a good integration towards other systems. So
one would have thought that with newspaper business probably being declined over the past decades, it would be harder to make a business in that area. But it's interesting to see that there is still some niche business, I guess, right?
Yeah, there was talks quite a while back that print was dying and everything would be web soon. But as the years go by, it's proving, or we're proving them wrong, I guess. There's still a lot of print being done all over the world.
What's your background in terms of maybe university studies, if you've followed any, and what did you do after your studies?
I've in Sweden. It's called civil engineering. It's just a 5-year university degree in very general IT. So a lot of programming and some hardware as well. But yeah, just very, very broad education. So you can basically go into any IT related business.
And the company you're working for now is the first company you've been working for, or you've worked in other areas before? Other companies?
I've worked in other companies during my studies, but this is the first one after finishing my studies.
Nice. Okay. So it's been quite a few years then.
Yeah.
Let's go back to GeoGuessr and playing video games. I noticed I did my little homework and I only use public data. Don't worry, I don't have access to any private confidential information, despite my employer. I noticed that 7 years ago, yes, 7 years ago, I'm going to go through the details of your life. You were streaming other video games. Do you want to talk about your Twitch experience back then? And I noticed a month ago, or just a bit more than a month ago, you started streaming again. Am I correct?
Yes. It's been a sort of a meme around my friends and everyone that, when will the next Mumrik stream be? And it's like, yeah, soon TM. And it's just like I've been living in Norway for a while. I've been living in Linköping in Sweden as well and I was sharing a flat with 2 other people, and I've just had I didn't really have the interest in streaming during those times because there's so much going on around you. But then recently I started to get a bit motivated again to stream, and it's been more fun. Like at the start, when I got back to GeoGuessr a couple of years ago, like I played quite a while back, and then I took a break and only played like a couple of games every now and then. But once I got back, I've started to like meet up with more people from the community slowly. So slowly but surely, I'm branching out in the community and not just hanging around with my close friends.
Since you're from Sweden and you lived in Norway, how did you get started playing Geoguessr? Is it because it still is a Swedish company, or did you see something on YouTube like so many of us?
Actually started playing Geoguessr with my good friend Havard from Norway. And we're both originally speedrunners. Which was what I used to stream back many years ago. And so it was just one time he asked me like, oh, hey, do you want to play this GeoGuessr game? It's like, oh, yeah, sure. And then we played it for a bit, and then we started coming up with various ways of playing it. And back then there was no, like, the idea of like no move or no move pan zoom, they were there, but they weren't supported in the game, so you had to enforce it yourself by just not panning or doing anything. But then we started playing the co-op type that there are multiple ways of playing co-op, but the way we played co-op was one person on the map clicking around trying to find info while the other one is only scanning on the map. And we swap between each round, who's driving and who's looking at the map. So that was like the thing we started doing in the start, and it was also like sort of speedrunning related because we wanted to do it as fast as possible, and then it's just like grown from there.
Do you want to explain what speedrunning is about? Is it going as fast as possible, getting 5K? Do you want to explain what this is about? Because I noticed you're also a moderator, right? I think on the speedrun.com site, right? For Geoguessr, like the Geoguessr section.
Yeah. In any game you can define like a speedrun however you want, really. Most of the time it's just like finish the game as fast as possible. And if you would take that literally for GeoGuessr, then you could just like just send all 5 locations instantly and don't care where you send them. And it's like, oh yeah, I did it fast. But it's more meaningful to do it getting all 5Ks. But there are multiple different ways of playing it, and if you check others, there's like fastest 24 plus or something K. It's just you do what you want, really. Like some people feel like there's a need to have a defined category to run something and to have a leaderboard for it. But as long as you run something that you can define all by yourself, as long as you're having fun, then I feel that's still just a great thing to do.
How competitive are you from 0 to 10? 10 is competition is my life. 0, I don't care. I'm just here for the fun. And be careful what you tell me, because I did my research on you.
It's a bit of a tough question, because I am pretty competitive when I compete, but at the same time I just also want to have fun.
So you say it's a 5, a 6, or it depends on the opportunity?
Yeah, I feel like it depends a bit on what I do and in what contexts. I don't like losing, but yeah, as long as I'm having fun, I don't really care too much.
I've noticed you hold one of the records, right, on the plunkit.net website, which is, I think, the 5th best, time for the Japanese prefectures. I don't know how to say it in English, the correct pronunciation.
Yeah, it's not time, but the amount of, it's a streak.
Ah, yes, the streak. And solo, right? Because many have it with assistance.
Yeah, one could say that the Kodiak's 11 is mine as well, since I sort of did most of that. It was an assisted one, so
got it.
But I do have a better one as well. I had an 11 that could have been a 13, but I sent one wrong 50-50. But I just haven't submitted it yet.
So you're one of the record holders. What makes you such a fan of Japan? Because you also have created a Google document. There's a number of research pieces, or you're conducting research on pole tops in Japan. So you seem to have a thing for Japan in particular. Mm-hmm. Is that the case?
Yeah, I would say I have a pretty big interest in general in Asia. And Japan is one of the countries I find really interesting, especially when it comes to infrastructure, because it's also a very beautiful country by itself, but it has like such a regional infrastructure that there's so many clues, both on a prefecture level and on a region level. So it's very rewarding playing it, because there's so much to see and look around, while comparing it to another country, like, for example, Russia. There you have to just get a feel for a lot of the areas, and sometimes even just learning specific roads. So it's a very different way of learning a country.
Do you speak any Japanese? Do you recognize the script?
I wouldn't say that I could hold a conversation in Japanese, but I can read a bit, and I've been slowly learning kanjis. So I can read and write hiragana and katakana, which are two of the alphabets, and then I maybe know around 500 to 600 kanjis at this point.
Nice. Are you self-taught, or do you use a teacher or some online or offline resources?
I used to study Japanese in college for 1 year, but that was very basic. But I learned hiragana and katakana there, so that was a good start at least. And then I didn't do anything for a long time, and then maybe 2 years ago I started learning it again. It was multiple reasons. I do enjoy some manga and anime to some extent, so I was thinking, that could be nice to know some. But the GeoGuessr was also a big reason why I started learning it. And I've been trying to learn a bunch of scripts and languages to some extent to help me in GeoGuessr, especially in Asia.
Have you been to Japan already?
No, but I would love to go there, and I plan on going there sometime in the near future.
I got lucky enough to visit the country 16 years ago for the first time. And I have a small story. I don't speak Japanese, but back then I didn't have much money. And I wanted to buy my first DSLR camera. So I thought, well, Japan is the country for DSLR cameras. So as soon as I landed in Nagoya, I rushed to go to some electronics store. And I tried to get information on the phone. And I practiced everything in terms of, how much is something. I think it was ikura desu ka, which means like, how much is it? But what I forgot is that it's one thing to speak and ask a question. It's something else to actually listen to the answer and not understand anything when the person responded. So I completely neglected this aspect anyway. In the end, I could not find this store. And I remember I went in that same trip to Osaka, and there's an electronic district, I think they call it.
Mm-hmm.
And I found my DSLR, and it looked like a pharmacy. Japan is very different in terms of culture. You probably know it, even without having been there. But it's a fascinating and very beautiful country. Definitely a good choice. Which brings me to my next question, actually. As a result of playing Geoguessa, or in general, what are the countries you hope most to visit? And I don't know if you saw some of the videos, but many people usually respond Norway and New Zealand, sometimes Chile. I'm always upset they never say France or Switzerland, but that's okay. What about you, since you've lived in Norway and you're from Sweden? Clearly Japan is on your list. Any other countries that are of interest to you?
Asia, I would love to visit. Philippines, Indonesia, and I sort of want to visit Thailand and Laos as well, especially now that Kodiak is there. It's like seeing pictures from there, it looks so beautiful. Apart from that, I would love to go to Iceland 1 year. Yeah, I've been around Europe. I've been to the Alps in both Switzerland and Austria. I do love going out hiking and climbing in the mountains. So
I suspect you're a bit biased for the Philippines, because as part of my little homework, I noticed that you've created one map, which is, I think, to practice all the Philippines provinces.
Yes.
And it's been played by thousands of people. Do you want to talk more about this? What led you to create that specific map, and how happy you are that people are just actually playing it?
Well, that was, I think the reason why I started, or why I made that map, was I was playing co-op with a German friend, and we got a sign that said, I don't remember the town name, but some town name, comma, Quezon, and Quezon is a city in the Manila, or in the capital region. So we thought that, we're close to that. And then it turned out that Quezon is also a province that doesn't show up on the map. And then it's like, oh, well, this is this was a lot of wasted time, because the round took probably 40 minutes when it could have probably taken a minute to finish. And so after that, I looked up what the provinces were, and then I was like, oh yeah, this seems like a good thing to learn. So I learned them, and then I created the map solely to practice for myself and for some friends, and then turned out that people started practicing it as well afterwards. So
very nice. Without looking up your stats, do you know how many games you've played in total?
I know that I streamed my 10,000 game in I think it was early February, so I would assume I'm somewhere around 10,500 maybe at this point.
Very good guess. 10,489 games. At least as of me checking just a few hours ago as I was preparing for this interview. 10,000 games. The reason I mentioned this is, first of all, it's impressive. But secondly, I noticed, this little map below your profile, it shows all the countries that you've actually explored and the medals that you get depending on your guesses.
Oh, yeah.
And you have gold. I think you're one of the only ones I have seen who has gold on every single country, if I'm not mistaken. You want to talk more about this?
Yes. Hubbard would hate me for doing this. He hates the Explorer mode, or all the official maps, because they are not pinpointable, and a lot of bad things about the official maps. But yeah, It was more like like I wanted to check out every country in the world, at least, like, and just play the specific country for a bit to get a better feel for it. And I thought, hey, why not do it while playing Explorer mode? And then I played through every country like that and learned at least some general stuff about the countries doing that. But that was quite a while back that I did that.
What is one thing that you'd like to see in the game or in the community in terms of evolution, and either something that you don't like too much today that you'd like to see getting better, or just something you have in mind? Either as a programmer, you're thinking, oh, GeoGuessr could do that, or maybe something in the community. Is there anything that you'd like to see evolve?
I would like to see GeoGuessr implement stuff that we, as at least in the pro community, dislike. Like there's so many things that they change, which is like, oh, why did you do that? And it would be nice to have maybe more of a dialogue with the developers, and like. Then again, I understand if there's something like it is a like broad target group, or I don't actually know their specific target group, but they have to please everyone. So I guess like some things will be something that the pro community will not like, but it's something that's good for the other players. But yeah, sometimes it feels like they are very disconnected from our part of the GeoGuessr community.
I appreciate the nuance you're mentioning between trying to please the pro players and also being cognizant of the fact that it's a very wide audience at the same time. Kodiak, who actually recommended you to me to have this interview, also mentioned something similar in the interview I had with him a few months ago, where he felt he felt that the developers from GeoGuessr were a little bit disconnected.
But they are on the way to make things better. So we wrote like a list with like 40 very important points, and then I like gathered them with all the pros, and then I just sent it to them. And I said it would be very nice if you implement those things into the game. And since then, already like 10 things changed and were implemented into the game, which is very nice to see. And I hope they address the very, very big problems, like such as world map, for example. In the future, because I know they are doing it, they are working on that, but yeah, hopefully it comes sooner than later. So yeah, I'm very hyped about the future because I think the devs are picking up on it, and I really need to give them some shout outs to that, because before they didn't care at all, and now they do care, and it's nice and refreshing to see.
So hopefully they're going to watch this. I know they do, because they verified my channel on GeoGuessr as a result of these interviews. So they are watching, so I hope they are listening. And I think you're raising a very good point. A lot of the startups would actually realize this, that when you're building a product, you do want to have your core influencers, the pros, to be quite happy and satisfied, at least a conversation going, because this is how you spread the word, right? These are the players who are going to talk about it. I mean, look at us today, right? We're quite passionate about the game, and we have our fair share of criticism, but we also love the game, right? And we are the ones who are going to spread the word and make their business actually more profitable on the long term, because you have such a hardcore fan base. So I do hope they are listening. And I speak with experience on this because of the job I have. I do have to work with external developers and startups, and my job is to try and make them happy. And if they're not happy, my job is to relay the feedback, because we want to make sure that our users are very satisfied one way or another, at least by listening to them. So your point about listening, I think, is critical, even if they don't implement all the features that we may want for GeoGuessr. Is there one thing you have in mind, top of mind, that you'd like to see change or reverted in case you have seen something that you're not happy with?
The entire like team duels concept. Like, I can't say I liked the latest update they did to that, but in general, better like management and maybe like a spectator lobby as well would be nice. I think that would be at least very helpful for all the tournaments. Would be nice, instead of having the one running it have to join a team. There are some, I think there's some script where you can like spectate the guests of both teams at the same time as well, but it's nice if you can get that directly from the game, instead of having to create plugins or scripts or anything to fix those issues.
All right, I hope they listen, and they know who to reach out to, you and others, to get more feedback if they want to. All right, we're going to go into my special new section. You're my guinea pig today. So you don't have the choice. You have the choice to say, I don't want to answer, obviously. You're going to give me a number, whatever number, from 1 to 14. And the reason for this is I have prepared 14 thematic interview questions, which are meant to be funny or interesting or curious or intellectual. And they're completely different from one another. And don't worry, there's no right or wrong answer. You just give me a number so I can choose one of the 14 interviews. So 1 to 14, whatever you want.
5.
5. All right. It's called First Time. You ready for it?
Oh boy. Yeah. Sure.
And question number 1 is, what is your first memory?
I mean, it's hard to tell which one is actually first, but I do have a memory from being in a stroller, actually. Like looking up at the sky, going around, like I specifically remember the treetops and some stuff at the corner at the end of our street that where I lived back like my first 10 years or so.
And with that memory, were you able to pinpoint the exact map location? I'm just joking.
I could pinpoint it now. But yeah.
Okay. What's the first time you stayed up all night?
It wasn't all night, but it was really, really late. And that was the New Year's Eve at the Millennium shift. So me and my cousins and my sister, we stayed up probably until like 7-8 a.m. Which was for like we were like I was 8 years at the time, so for me that was really, really late.
All right. What's the first time you traveled somewhere by yourself? It doesn't have to be far, right? But you actually traveled somewhere by yourself.
Maybe I should blame my age for not remembering this, but
no worries. Don't worry. We'll skip this one. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Next one. What's your first sin?
I guess I stole 2 kroner from my mother's drawer when I was like maybe 5 or 6 years old.
Does she know, or is she going to discover with this video?
Who knows?
Do you have the 2 kroner back to give back to her or not? Do you need some help?
Probably. I think she wouldn't mind at this point.
Okay. What's the first time you fell in love?
8, maybe? It was this girl 1 year younger. That was really nice.
What's the name? Does she know?
Probably not. She was called Emily, at least. And yeah, we went to the same kindergarten.
Okay. What's the first time you got your heart broken? Is it Emily again?
Probably, yeah. yeah, definitely.
What's your first lucky charm? Do you know what a lucky charm is?
Yeah. A stuffed animal of a tiger that I got from my parents during my first Christmas. And I kept it with me everywhere when I was a kid. And for better or worse, like pretty much every day after they picked me up from kindergarten, they would have to wash it in the washing machine because it was so dirty. But I still keep it around, and it's very precious to me. So
very nice. I had a rabbit, and it's also still with me and has been in the washing machine quite a few times as well. What's the first video game you played?
Like skiing game on like really old Windows. I don't know if it was a Windows game or if it was. I think it was. Where it's you ski down a slope and you're being chased by a Yeti. Ski Free is the name.
Ski Free. Okay, okay.
But I did have a lot of other games when I was young, and I played Half-Life, for example, probably a bit too early. Like probably something you shouldn't let your 10-year-old son play. But
if I haven't played it, but my younger brothers played it. If I'm not mistaken, you're killing a bunch of aliens, no?
Yeah, sort of, I guess.
Or like zombies and stuff like that, right? You mentioned you played Geoguessr for a while now. When do you remember the year? When did you first start playing Geoguessr?
I think the first time I played it was 2016.
2016. Okay, 3 years.
But then we started playing it a bit more seriously 2017, and then I took a break at some point in I think 2018 or something, 2019, and then started picked it up again properly. I think somewhere around the start of Corona.
We're almost done. Final question for you. What's the first time you experienced a major failure?
Tough one to pick. It's not a major failure, but to me back then it felt major, and I was very. I took school very seriously during my first couple of years, so first to third grade, and during Swedish we had a weekly Swedish test where we had 10 words that we were supposed to be able to spell, and I spelled everything correctly for 3 years, and then I was sick 1 week, so I didn't get I didn't know which words it was, and then I came back on the Friday when we had the test, and I misspelled the doctor, and I was so sad about that.
Sorry, I shouldn't be laughing, but it's to be a trauma still.
Yeah.
Does the teacher know you were sick? What's the name of the teacher? If she or he's watching this.
She was named Päivi, a Finnish teacher, but living in Sweden.
Okay.
And I mean, she was just impressed that I managed to get 9 out of 10 for not being there. And I haven't seen any of the words before, but to me it was heartbreaking.
Do you know how to spell doctor now?
Yeah.
It's good? Okay. Well done. You succeeded in my first thematic interview, which was the first time interview. Thank you so much for playing the guinea pig. Any final few words you would have for the community? Because we've been chatting for a while now, and I want to respect your time. Any final words you would have for anyone who's watching this, whether they're playing Geoguessa or not, or they're playing for the first time? Any final few words?
Be open to properly join and talk with the community, because it's definitely I've been around a lot of different communities throughout the years, and while I think the speedrunning community in general is very nice, the GeoGuessr community has been really lovely. People are very nice and helpful, and if you want to learn something, there's always someone who will be there to give you a helping hand or teach you. I might not be the most social person, but I've been trying to socialize more with people in the community as of late, slowly reaching out to more and more of the members. So
it's funny you say this, because I'm actually I often qualify myself as being quite shy and introvert, which I know is a bit ironic considering my work, my professional job, but also what I'm doing here with YouTube. But it's also because I've found this community to be very welcoming. I'm significantly older than the average age, I guess, of the players, but I feel like in general it's very inclusive community and very friendly to your point. So I felt that it made it very easy, and I would wager that anyone watching this interview will find you also very sociable, actually, despite what you're saying, because you're very direct, very straightforward, and you have very funny and interesting memories from when you were younger. So thank you for sharing all this very openly. Thank you to you for your time as well. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. It's been fun.